Hey folks, this is Lauren. I am the Story Brand Strategist coming to you from Orlando, Florida. This is day 2 of the Star Wars Celebration Event 2017. Now, by all rights, I should have already been there, but today is the day that the big panel, the big one everyone has been anticipating besides the 40th anniversary panel, and that is the Last Jedi panel. Now, my thing was this. Yesterday, I experienced. This is the first time I've gone to this thing, and the first time at this place in this convention center. So I'm not really familiar with how things work or what the structure was. Yesterday, I was online at 5 something in the morning. I was not doing that today. I walked about 7.5 miles going up and down and around. That wasn't happening today, especially since what they did is they let people stay inside of the convention hall to sleep over. And hundreds of people did that last night. So the chances were of me actually getting into one of the rooms were very small because yesterday hundreds of people stayed for the big 40th anniversary opening ceremony, and even the people who stayed overnight did not all get a chance to get into one of those rooms. So that's how tight it was, folks. So you know what? I decided, you know what? I'm going to sleep late. And I'll get to the convention a little later because most of the stuff I want to see is going to happen towards the afternoon. So I rather will see that on YouTube than struggle to be there all day and be tired for the rest of the day when I really want to see some cool stuff that's happening this afternoon. So for all of those who might be watching this, might be a combination of copy chiefs and of course acolytes of story selling, my little Facebook group. Teaching you how to use the power of story to get more sales, folks. So, what have I learned so far? A lot, actually. And not just because of what people said in terms of the producers and other creatives that are involved in some part of Star Wars, but people who are fans. I met the 501st Legion. They are a group of cosplayers. They make their most of the time they're making their own costumes. They build sets, and they do an AKA Vader's fist. So they dress up as people from the Empire and the First Order for the most part, and they go to things like children's hospitals and they do events, which I think is really cool. They do a lot of charity work. And so they use their love for Star Wars and dressing up at these characters to bring some joy into the lives of other people like kids. So that's what they're doing. And I met some of the people from the Lightsaber Guild. These are folks, some of them are dressed like Jedi, others are dressed more like Sith and things like that. So if you know that terminology, these folks dress up as if they learn how to do lightsaber combat. And what they do is they do shows themselves. So they're another group that goes out and they do these shows for folks. So this is all folks who usually volunteer to do these things. So that's how interesting Star Wars is to them. And what's interesting is that these folks are fans. They take the time of their own lives. They put these things together and then they go out and they do it. Which speaks a lot to the pull that Star Wars has had on people over its last 40 years or so of being in existence. They didn't know when George Lucas, who was actually still here, didn't know it would be this big. And so this fandom has grown, and to make Star Wars, to make Lucasfilms a multi-billion-dollar company, which is why George Lucas is a billionaire, and Disney has paid billions of dollars to acquire sort of this asset, and why it is making even more money now that Disney has has pseudo control over it. I will say that one of the most amazing things that I thought was always interesting, and it was even more apparent as I'm been here, is that people know the creatives by name. They know them by face. They look for them to take pictures. They have questions for them. They also know the management by name and by face. And they go and they look for them at these conventions. So Kathleen Kennedy is the president of Lucasfilms. Kathleen Kennedy was out there on the floor, besides after the celebration event where she spoke and everything else, but she was out there on the convention floors meeting and talking to fans, taking pictures. This is someone who is the executive branch of this particular company. What other film company do you know where people relatively know who the CEO, who the president of that company is, and that they go to conventions and take pictures with people. They know this woman by name, they know her by face. She interacts with the fans. It's a very close relationship. They, of course, everyone knows George, and George does the same thing. By George, I mean George Lucas. And then you have Pablo Hidalgo, who was there, who did a nice, cool panel too. I'm gonna try to get in his panel tomorrow. Seems to be more panel I'll probably get into. And Dave Filoni. People know these people by name. They interact with the fans. I mean, they did a whole presentation. They had their panel, and then one of the cosplaying groups, I believe, one of the cosplaying groups came through and did a presentation during the panel. Stuff that was unplanned. So this is the kind of love people have. This is what happens when you do more than just go after folks for being your customers. Now, especially folks in Copy Chief, we're usually as copywriters, we're on the sales side of things, but we understand hopefully some of you understand the marketing side of things, and you try to combine it to make the sales promotion work, right? And we're always looking to get more customers. And my thing is, you have to think, I'm always more of a big picture person. I'm like, you have to think beyond that, right? It's not just about acquiring customers. I want them to be fans. And I want to turn some of those fans into my advocates. It's beyond, here's a product that I promised is going to do this for you. Now you give me money and I get rich. It's beyond that for me. And in terms of what happens, Star Wars is the best example of seeing that. I mean, there are thousands of people at this event today. I mean, there are folks I met and talked to who are from New Zealand, who flew here, spent thousands of dollars flying here, and are having a great time. There are so many different little businesses and groups and people who've gained fandom because of their love of Star Wars, whether it's talking about it on a podcast or collectors collecting special toys and autographs and selling them. Hasbro, and I think I did take a picture of the Hasbro line yesterday, was incredible. They had their own damn line, okay? And that line wrapped around like 7 times. And when they got to the convention floor where they're selling stuff, Hasbro had its own presentation. Hasbro had a line out the damn door, and this place is like 5 miles long. And that's how long the line was for these toys, right? So that wouldn't have happened if Star Wars wasn't a big thing. If people weren't into collecting it, weren't into this stuff, this would have never happened. So I think that is a testimony of what happens when you have fans and they're really into whatever it is, that thing you are selling, that thing that you are creating. So that's why I'm more on the end of, I want more than customers, I want them to be fans of what we do. I want them to sing the praises. We're always talking about testimonials. Well, guess what? It's easier to get a testimonial from someone if they're a fan of what you do. So if you have a product that you're writing copy for and it's something to do with arthritis, and you're learning the emotional standpoints of a person with arthritis, and you're doing it to get the sale, I want to do more than just get the sale in terms of how the company presents itself, what its mission is, what its story is going to be. I want them to be the godsend of the people they are helping. Now, for Star Wars, they didn't expect any of this. This is a lot of stuff that's happened with Star Wars in the last 40 years. They never expected it to be like this at all. I mean, the film, as they say many times, could have flopped many times over, but it didn't, and it grew into this large fandom. Now, one thing I will say, Disney is excellent, and Lucasfilm is excellent at cultivating this fandom. They are very good at it. That's why Kathleen Kennedy is out there right now on the sales floor, taking pictures with people, talking with people. That's why the actors are there talking to people, taking pictures with them. That's why the creative group, they know the creatives by name. I don't know any copywriter, too many copywriters, that your customers know your name. They know that you wrote this copy. They know that you designed and wrote the copy for this website. But with Star Wars, these fools know who wrote the comic book. They know who the artist is. They know who the authors are. They know who the executive producers are. They know all these people by name, and they know their history. And that's an amazing thing. So now it's a plus to a minus of that because it creates a pseudo celebrity. It helps you, I guess, get jobs, and it does. However, if you screw up, if you do something they don't like, you got to deal with whatever the brunt of that situation is going to be for you. So that is something, to keep in mind. But it's still a beautiful thing. Now, most of us will know copywriters who wrote certain pieces, right? But think about it this way. One of my favorite copy pieces to read is Gary Pennsylvania's olive oil sort of ad, and I think I've handwritten it twice, and and I've read it multiple times. I just like the bullets and like certain things. I was like, wow, this is cool. I was like, if I could just write a bullet like that, I'll be great, you know, sort of thing. And what happened? I was like, what would happen if the people who read that ad for that olive oil subscription, what happens if they knew that Gary was the person who wrote it? What happens if he had developed a fandom over how he wrote something based on the fact that he's selling a product that is giving people joy who are food aficionados? If you're a food lover and you love to cook, and this guy comes in and you know he wrote this ad, this letter to you telling you about that he goes around getting the best olive oil, how would that change the perception not only as him but for the product itself? And that's part of, I think, very interesting thing about what happens with Star Wars. The fact that this person, that Dave Filoni, that Pablo Hidalgo, in terms of the smaller series, the cartoon series that he is in charge of, creating characters like Ahsoka, which has become a very beloved Star Wars character, drawing these things out, doing more stories on Boba Fett. They know his name, they know when they like episode, they know when they hate an episode. But it has added more to the story than just the character, the product itself. So it's very interesting how that plays out, and I'm always very interested in that. So that's just something to think about. Now, for some of you, you don't want that. You just like, hey, I'll write copy, they give me money, I live my lifestyle true and free. And that's cool if that's what you want to do. Not knocking you. But me, I'm about creating empires, and I create rebellions. I want this to last forever. Like Star Wars. I want to create your fans. I want to have your advocates. And I want a story that's going to build your company. And so it's going to be here 40, 50 years from now, still kicking everybody's ass, because Star Wars definitely is doing that. And that's why Disney bought them. And looking at Disney as a company, knowing what intellectual properties to invest billions of dollars in is very interesting as well. But that's a discussion for another time. Anyway, folks, I got to get to the convention for today and enjoy myself, taking more pictures of myself this time, and some video of things I think are interesting. Anyway, see you guys later. Whether you're in Copy Chief or you're in my groups, Acolytes of Story Selling, I will check you later. This is Lauren from the Bronx, New York City, but today I'm in Orlando, Florida at Star Wars Celebration 2017. See you later. Deuces.